Hey, my friend, it's Randy. It's Separation Friday, and what a great place to be. No place better than to be at Building Wins Live. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being here as always. Appreciate your support. We got a fun guest today. Reggie Stoltzfus is a friend that we go back. We'll probably establish how long ago when we get on air in a couple seconds here, but we go back quite a ways. And Reggie is a true professional. He's a leader. And you're going to enjoy this conversation. We're going to chat about several things in the world of business and trusses and lumber and his dedication to his people of Northeast Ohio and as a state representative. And you're going to love this conversation. So we'll be right back with Reggie. Hey, Reg, how you doing?
Randy, I'm doing well. Yourself?
Awesome. I know you went to get water before we went back to the green room, and I thought maybe I'd be talking to an empty chair, which I would have to ad lib.
Well, I got my water, and I just want to say, Randy, thanks for inviting me on your show today, and I want to say thanks to your producer, Wes Wyatt, for the work he's doing behind the scenes, and look forward to a good conversation today.
Oh, you got it. I appreciate you being on. I love to promote businesses within the industry that we both serve, and talk about leadership, talk about positivity, and those are things that I've always known from you since day one. Because we've known each other. How long has it been now? Has it been 10, 12 years now that we've known each other?
I was thinking around 12 years. So yeah, we started when I was delving around in the metal sales business. I ran into you. You tracked me down, and we became friends. So yeah,
and that's one of the beautiful things about this industry, and probably all industries tend to be that way. So I can only speak for the one that I'm involved with for 4+ decades. Is that obviously I appreciate the business, and but more than that is I appreciate the association with good people like yourself, and making good friends, and people that sometimes we all get busy and we all have our things going on, and we might not talk for a while, but it's kind of like that old long lost high school friend, right? When you get back together, it's like old times, and that's just something about this industry I think is maybe a little more so than some industries. I can't speak for other industries, but I appreciate your friendship and loyalty, and it's been a great 12 years, man. Let's do another 12.
Absolutely, Randy. Absolutely.
So as we get started, the open-end question: who is Reggie Stoltzfus?
That's a great question.
I know. You can make something up if you want.
So yeah. So Reggie Stoltzfus is a guy, just a regular guy who grew up in small town Ohio, Northeast Ohio. I grew up about 10 miles from Canton, Ohio. Some of your viewers might know Canton as the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's what Canton has, and grew up in a very small town. Still live in a very small town. Live way out in the country, away from people. I love my space. I grew up in a great home with loving parents, and I was taught values. I was taught how to work at a young age, and I had uncles that brought me alongside of them as well. That taught me, good principles, good values, and again the good work ethic to have, moving forward into adult life. So, as I grew older, I found the woman of my dreams, and I've been married almost 20 years. This year will be 20 years I've been married to my wife, lovely wife, Jeanette. And we have 4 children, 3 teenagers. And that's why you see me with gray hair, Randy, is because teenagers, it's every day it's something new, right? So, but it's fun, and we're living life. We live on a small farm here in Northeast Ohio. We raise some beef cattle, My kids do 4-H. I've got two sons. My oldest two sons, one is 17, one is 14. They both work in my trust shop currently. If you're the owner, you're in Ohio, if your son is 14, you can have him work. So I'm teaching them how to work. They're working 40 hours a week plus. They're working around the other employees. They're getting a handle of what life is really about, and it ultimately it's putting them ahead. Just knowing that, hey, for the rest of my life, I've got to work, so I better figure out what I want to do, because this job may not be for me, so I need to figure it out. So outside of that's who I am. Getting into the building business, and I know some of your viewers come from a wide array of building backgrounds. I started out when I was 15 years old. Even before that, framing houses. I was on a framing crew, and we framed houses, and I was a carpenter. And when I was 21, I decided, you know what, I'm going to run my own crew. So I started my own carpenter crew, and I had 4, 5, 6 employees, and we would build houses, one after the other, and that was going well, right? And we used roof trusses on all of our houses, right, Randy?
Right.
And we installed them. We didn't build them, but we installed them. So I got a good handle of what a roof truss was. And some of the roof trusses that came out to our job sites, Randy, they weren't up to what I would say was high quality. And I asked myself, I said, if this company can make a buck making this roof truss, I'm sure I can make a buck making one maybe a little better. Mm-hmm. So at that point, Randy, I decided, I was going to somehow, didn't know how, but I was going to get into the manufacturing side of roof trusses. And we did. We started off in our detached garage at our house, and that was 17 years ago. And we started making roof trusses. Not a whole lot, but we started making them. We were framing houses, making roof trusses. Things were going well. And 2008 rolled around, and if you can remember what happened then, the housing bust. And the builder, the home builder that I was working for at that time, and in this part of the country, and I know it's different in different areas of the country, but in this part of the country, builders, they use subcontractors for everything. You got your carpenter, your roofer, your heating and cooling. Everybody's a subcontractor. And I know some other parts of the country, the builder does it all. But here they have subcontractors for every piece of the pie. So the builder I was working for in 2008, he was doing very well. And he had several developments going on. He was building, 100 houses a year. And, things were getting tight, as you know. And the builder had a meeting with all his subcontractors and said, our payment terms are 30 days for all of our subs. We're running into a little bit of an issue. We need you guys to extend your payment terms to 90 days. And so I kind of seen the handwriting on the wall there. I don't even know that I financially could have went 90 days without getting paid for a job. That's hard to do when you're a small business owner, right?
Right.
So I opted out to just say, you know what, this is going the wrong direction, and it's going the wrong direction fast. So I cut my losses. And back then there was a lot of framers, and it was easy for that builder to fill my shoes and take my place. And I stopped framing for that specific builder. And I'm glad I did, because just a few months later, that builder was no more. And a lot of subs, a lot of builders went under. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, because, it was just the market and what happened. But a lot of subcontractors got left holding the ball. And fortunately, thank God, we got paid for those jobs that we had completed. And one thing I didn't mention off the get-go, Randy, the most important thing about me is I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. That's first and foremost in my life. And that should have been the first thing I said, and that slipped my mind. But I want your viewers to know that that's who I am, and that's the character I try to espouse. Doesn't always happen because I'm a human being, but that's who I try to be. So, going back to the framing crew was kind of disbanded at that point because the housing crash. So we were forced with a choice, my wife and I. What do we do? We've got this small truss plant that we started. We've got this framing crew that's now disbanded. We decided we were just going to throw all our eggs into this basket of manufacturing wood roof trusses, and we did, and it worked. By God's grace, it worked, and we made it through 2008, through 2009, 2010, and we flourished. We used a little bit different of a model, Randy, than a lot of our competitors in this area. Now, again, different areas of the country, do things differently. But here in Northeast Ohio, most truss companies sell to wholesalers, i.e. lumber yards. Mm-hmm. And the lumber yards will then sell to the end user. Well, when I started my truss company, no lumber yard wanted to buy my trusses because they said, this guy's making trusses out of his garage. Why would I want to buy trusses from this guy? Are they even for real? Can we trust his trusses, right? So what we did is we tried a different business model. We went direct to the customer. We went direct to the builder, the homeowner, and we used that business model. And that business model worked for us, Randy, to a certain point. The thing about going direct with sales is a lot of times it's a one and done, right. and that's hard to do because you got to go find that next sale. You got to go find that next sale. So I would say about 10, 12 years ago, we started transitioning from the direct sales model once we were established as a truss company to a wholesale only model to where we only sell to lumber yards exclusively. So that's where we are today. And that model has worked great for us, and it has grown our business substantially because it's not a one and done sale. You form relationships just as you and I have a relationship. We have relationships with lumber salesmen across Ohio from many different lumber yards, and they continue to come back to us for wood roof trusses, right? So it was a good transition. It's a good model. Again, that's not the model for every part of the country. I understand that, but that's the model that's used here in Northeast Ohio.
So you had, was that a tough transition, Reggie, when you went from, so you had some established, not so much the homeowners, right, because that would tend to be a one and done, but to contractors. Was it a hard transition? Because I assume you had to tell them you now need to buy from a lumber yard. I can no longer sell you direct. Is that how you went, or was you able to grandfather some of those existing contractors in? Because, and the reason I ask is, I deal with a lot of metal roll form customers that when they have the same issue, they start out and you need business, right? So you sell to anybody that's got a jug full of coins, right? But at some point, you have to make that conversion into whatever model you're going to choose, and you chose the wholesale route. Was it a tough transition away from some of those existing customers that might have been with you, contractors specifically, or how did you handle that from manage the expectations or a leadership role, I guess?
Well, that's a great question, Randy, and yeah, that wasn't easy. So we started off, we went wholesale only, and we had a list of probably 10 contractors that had been with us from the beginning. And we said, you know what, these people have been with us, we're going to still service them. And as the years went on, that list just became shorter and shorter and shorter. And finally, that list just dissolved itself. Because ultimately, you're going to get the same service from the lumber yard as you are from us, selling direct to you. So that's how we transitioned it. And it took some time, but again, it worked itself out over time. And we took care of the people that helped us get started. But again, after a while, we just it just worked itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good input because that follows a model that I had to take with some of the products that I represent, and many of which you guys buy from us, which I appreciate. Um, but when you start out, you had that business, and you don't want to, nor should you just tell that guy, hey, thank you for the last 4 years and helping me when I had no business, and now you need to go. You got to kind of work your way through that, and I think most wholesale customers understand if you're just honest, right? Say, look, I'm not going to turn my back on this guy, but here's the direction we're going. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. So I was interested because I know a lot of people that might watch this show that are roll form customers, especially, they face that issue every day. We kind of need the business regardless because we're new. We've been doing this for 2 years. But at some point, you've got to make that split. And it's just all a matter of doing it with some integrity and some honesty. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. So, yeah, thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the truss business, lumber, obviously. What can you say about that? That's been a challenging, 15 months or so now? What has it been? 12, 15 months of just crazy lumber numbers. How's that affecting your business? How are you managing that thing? And I know a question that everybody has on their mind, especially if they're not close to the game or in the industry. A homeowner, for example, will go, well, I've heard lumber prices have dropped quite a bit in the last month or two, right? How come I'm not seeing that at the local lumberyard? Why am I not seeing that at the local Lowe's? Why am I not seeing that from trusses, right? Why don't we see that immediately?
That's a great question, Randy. And let me just start by saying, the lumber market was really flat before COVID hit, and when COVID hit and the shutdowns hit, everybody said, "Oh my gosh, what is this virus?" Nobody bought lumber, right? Nobody bought lumber. That was the last thing on my mind. I actually called my financial advisor up and I said, what should we be doing? And he told me, well, lumber's pretty cheap. Why don't you invest in lumber? And I said, you're absolutely crazy. We don't know what this thing's going to do. We might not be making trusses we don't know. Turns out my financial advisor was spot on, because when COVID first hit and everything kind of shut down, all the buildings shut down, lumber dropped, and it was at a very cheap price. And when all the lockdowns were lifted, right, people started building again, especially the home stores. They were selling like crazy, the Lowe's, the Home Depots, because people were at home. They were doing projects at home, and the mills were behind because they were shut down. They were trying to catch up, and lumber just went through the roof. It quadrupled in some cases. So my financial advisor was spot on. I should have listened to him. Next time, maybe I will. But I remember, Randy, I've got behind me on the wall, you see a bunch of papers. I've got a paper up there, an email from one of my guys I buy lumber from, and I've got it highlighted just to remind me of what can happen. But I've got quotes on that wall behind me for Southern Yellow Pine 2400 2x6 for $2,300 per 1,000 board foot. That's absolutely insane. Before COVID, you could buy that for $500 per 1,000 board foot. And SPF was upwards of $1,700 per board foot. And pre-COVID, that was $400 to $500 per 1,000 board foot. So the price of lumber went up 4 times and then some in some cases, and it was very hard to swallow because as a buyer, you're buying a couple trucks of lumber every week, and you're watching it go up $100 a week, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to flatten out here. I'll just wait another week, and you wait another week, and it goes up another $200. So at some point, you just got to bite it and say, I got to buy lumber, or else I'm not going to have any lumber to make trusses. So, we climbed the ladder with the market like everybody else had to do. We ran a thin inventory. And also, the thing that hurt also, as you know, I mean, with every commodity, whether it be steel, lumber, plastic, there was a shortage of everything. So there was a backlog. Mm-hmm. Instead of taking 2 weeks to get a lumber truck, it now took us 6 weeks to get a lumber truck, which means our ordering patterns had to be totally different. The trucking was hard, to find a truck to deliver it. That's still hard today. We dealt with that yesterday with our connector plates coming in for our trusses. Things were bad. Everything was slow, but it has gotten better. But all that to say, it was a storm that just drove the prices sky high, and the delivery, the pipeline, the supply chain just slowed to a crawl. And we raised it. Like I said, we climbed the ladder with the prices. We had to pass that along to our customers. Everybody did. We can't eat that lumber, right? So we had to pass that along. And it's been high for some time. And a few months, like you said, a few months ago, it started to crack a little bit and come down. And it has come down fast. And it has come down hard. I bought a couple trucks this week. Southern Yellow Pine 2400 and SPF. I'm in the $600, $700 per thousand range. We're getting down close to where historical levels should be. Another $100, and we're, where the prices really should be. So we're real close. There's little downside risk at the moment, outside of a government shutdown, which could drive prices up again. Mm-hmm. But to your question, lumber prices are, cheaper right now, today. Why don't I see that on the shelf tomorrow reflecting that price? And I'll tell you the reason why, Randy, is because everybody, myself included, and everybody else that buys lumber, we had to invest in this high-priced lumber, right? We were invested in this $1,600, $1,700 SPF lumber, and then when it starts to come down and you buy in at $1,000, then you buy in at $700, and then you buy in at $600. You've got to average those costs in with what you have on ground with your inventory and bring that cost down. You can't just buy a truck and say, hey, I bought the truck for $600 today. I'm going to sell all my lumber at $600. Right. You still got, hundreds of thousands of dollars of lumber in the yard that you paid 3 times that amount for. So you've got to average your costs down, and everybody has to do that or they're going to lose money. It will take us, we projected this out to the end of 2021. It will take us all year, the rest of 2021, to average our costs down with our lumber usage to get down to the market price, just because of how much inventory we had on ground. And it's not that I wanted to keep inventory on ground, it's that we couldn't get inventory, so we had to order extra to make sure we had enough, because the trucking, you didn't know if you were getting it next week or in 2 months. So it was a very volatile time, and that's why that you see the price today, and it's not reflective of what's on the shelf tomorrow. It's because you have to average the lumber pricing down, so that we're not losing money.
Right. Well, yeah, price averaging is very, very key. And you hit on a point I wanted to go back to is, so what's the most volatile or dangerous time for somebody like yourself? Is it on the climb up, or is it on the roll back? Where can you get in the most trouble from? Because it's a roll of dice a little bit, right? But where's the most danger factor? If that's a fair question. Is it on the way up, or is it on the way back down? I have my opinion on where it would be, but I'd love to hear what your thought is on that.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'll say that right up front. I'll say it's dangerous on both sides of the coin, Randy, because we don't, when it starts to go up, like, and granted, this has never happened before, ever. We've never seen lumber do this, not even close.
This is crazy.
So a big move in lumber 2 years ago was $50 a thousand, and we're talking about it moved, $1,500 a thousand. So I have never experienced, and everybody I've talked to in the market who I deal with has never experienced anything like this, this volatile market. But I think it's for me, you rely on the information you have, right? And you do the homework, your homework, and you make the best decisions you can. So you try to buy when it's right, whether it's going up or coming down. You don't know where the bottom's going to be. So when it's coming down, I try not to aim for the bottom, because if I aim for the bottom, I'm usually too late. It already hit bottom, and it's already rising. So I try to aim to where I think the bottom's going to be, and I'm happy if I get it right above where I think the bottom's going to be. I'm satisfied there. Going up, it's anybody's guess, right? It's just information that you're gathering, and you're trying to make the best decision you can. There are certain times a year that it's better to buy lumber historically. We try to buy lumber in the winter months, early spring, even late in the year, if the market is right. I have numbers that I've had for the last 10 years of historical trends, where if it hits this number, that's an investment level number. We're buying no matter what, and we're going to buy a lot of it. Maybe 6 months worth. We're gonna put some money into it, just because I know that over the last 10 years that's a good buy. So it's investment level. So if you've been in the industry and you have that data and it hits those points, that's the time to invest. And so myself, in a normal year, there's only certain times I'm buying. It's at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. I'm heavily buying, and I'm buying for 2 to 3 quarters of the year. And then we revisit that again midsummer. Sometimes there's a lull in the midsummer months, and if it gets low again, we'll jump in again, and we'll make a heavy buy. Historically, lumber rises. September, October, November. It rises. It always does historically. I shouldn't say always, but historically it does rise. So I try to stay away from those months and try to load up before those fall months. So it's all about buying habits and getting into a routine of knowing when the best time to buy is, and what the best numbers are.
Makes sense. That's good information. So with the last 15 months or whatever of the whole craziness of the world we've lived in, let's say, I'll be a little politically correct. How's business been? Business has been in our industry, pretty darn good, right? I mean, considering all that's happened, after the first little, maybe 3-4 weeks where none of us knew what was going on, and we were all sitting in our house looking out the window, peeking out the curtain to see if something was out there to get us. At some point, when things started to, I don't want to say normalcy, it was a new normal, I guess, for a while. In our industry, it's been pretty darn good, right?
Absolutely. The building industry is strong. We're busy. We're slammed. We've got all we can handle. I could hire 6 more people tomorrow, Randy, and put more product out, but I can't find them. So it's been a great year. After the shutdowns happened last year, it was a good year last year. I think we're going to have a good fall as well. I think this whole year is going to be good as long as you don't have any more shutdowns throughout the country and disruptions. So the demand is definitely there for all this, for the building materials. So absolutely.
Good. So that was my question. You kind of answered it, but so you see the balance of 2021 to be very good. But again, everything's barring the unforeseen, right? But barring anything crazy, 2022 good, you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to forecast out that far. We've got some really good housing start data for 2021, so it looks good for the fall. It looks good for the first of 2022. Past that is anybody's guess. I'm sure you could talk to somebody and they could tell you that it's going to be great. But I would ask them, how do you know that? First off, I I don't know.
Yeah.
I know this year's going to be good. After this year, will it flatten out a little bit? That's a good possibility that we could see it flatten just a little. Will the demand be there again in 2022 like it is in 2021? I don't know. Um, I can just see the near-term future, Randy. And again, that's if we have no more of these shutdowns.
Right, right, exactly. So, how did, speaking of all that, because you have employees there, obviously at Dutch Craft Trust, how did you, and I guess I hate the word, essential job or essential industry or essential, because the reason I hate it is Billy and Martha trying to work in their local small town to take care of their family seems pretty essential to me. But with that said, you and I were blessed to be involved in an industry that was deemed essential. Um, but with that said, how did all that? How did you battle through that? The new regulations and the rules and everything that was piled upon us by outside forces. I mean, that had to be a challenge from running a local small business, right? I mean, that was not an easy thing to deal with.
Absolutely. And first off, I believe that it's a slap in the face to call somebody non-essential.
Agreed.
That is just a total slap in the face. Everybody's essential. Everybody's job is essential. And we all seen what happened when you shut down different sectors of the market. The government needs to stay out of business, plain and
Right
simple.
on.
It's no business being in business. So stay out of business, government. Um, our governor in Ohio, um, Governor DeWine, he put out some very strong mandates, which we were not happy with. I had a couple conversations with him, and I disagreed with him wholeheartedly. And he had a mask mandate. Um, you know, look, at our plant, we're not working side by side. We're spread out. If you want to wear a mask, if you feel like you're going to get sick, if you're not wearing a mask, you need to wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Um, and that was our stance. If the governor wanted to come shut me down, so be it. But I wasn't going to force my employees to wear a face mask. That just wasn't going to happen, and it's not going to happen. That's just one thing that we some businesses can do that. That's your right if you want to do that as a business owner. For me, that is totally taking away my employees' rights, and I wasn't going to put up with that, and we didn't do that. Again, some employees chose to, and that's fine. That's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, you know, the mandates were very asinine, and again, non-essential versus essential. I think it's just a slap in the face to all workers. And let me give you an example. The local florist here in town was closed down, right? Because they're not essential. But heck, you could go up to Walmart and you get all the flowers you want.
Right.
The local jeweler was closed down, but you go to Walmart and you could buy all kinds of jewelry and watches. So how is that fair?
Right.
So it comes back down to the government knowing its place and the people, especially here in Ohio, making the right decisions for themselves. I trust the people of Ohio. I trust you, Randy. I trust that you would make the right decision for yourself. If you feel like you were susceptible to this virus and you wanted to stay home, that's your choice. You should do that, Randy. I support you
Mm-hmm.
on that. But am I going to make you stay home? I don't think that's right. And I don't think you should have to.
Well said, and we're on the same page here. And an interesting thing, it's a great segue. Love segues, not the bike segue, but the real segues. You said, I wrote it down here. Government should stay out of business, and it's an interesting concept, and it segues into the next conversation here. Wes put up ReggieForOhio.com. So many years ago, you made a choice, Reggie, to give more of yourself to your fellow Ohioans in the Northeast Ohio area to become a state representative, and I applaud you for that. And So let's talk a little bit about that. The last 2 minutes we're together here. What caused you to do that? Um, what's that been like? Anything you want to talk? I'd love to hear your take on maybe what caused you to want to do that. Because it's I'm sure it's not for the money. I'm sure it's not for the fame. But what was the driving force behind that? And then also maybe uh, this is a rhetorical, not a rhetorical question, but an open-end question. But what do you all do down in Columbus? I mean, I know a lot of people wonder because we all have these ideas about politicians, right? And I'm sure that's not maybe a term that you want to be stuck with because you're a businessman and a family man, and you're serving the people. But uh, tell me about Reggie, the state representative. How, why, who, where, and what's that all about?
Sure. Well, you got a couple questions packed into there. So the first one was, how did you get involved and become a state representative? You know, back in 2012, Randy, um, federal government passed the ACA, otherwise known as Obamacare,
Mm-hmm.
and mandating that everybody have health insurance, and as an employer, you need to provide it, and that made me really upset. And then actually, I called my congressman here. He was a key vote, and I called his office numerous times, and never once did I get a response from his office, Randy. And I'm saying I called his office 5 times, and I didn't expect the congressman to call me back, right? But the congressman has 7 aides working for him. Somebody needs to call me back and say, "Hey,
Right.
this is the congressman's opinion." That probably would have shut me up, and I would have went away. But I didn't hear anything back. And then the ACA was passed, and mandates were created. This whole new law, government was taking over healthcare, and that just made me so upset that I said, you know what, I've got to get involved. I've got to do something. My voice was not heard, so I decided to get involved. And I didn't know anybody that was elected in any capacity. I didn't know the local school board. I didn't know anybody, but I did my homework and I met people. I got involved. I became what we call in Ohio a township trustee here locally. Takes care of local government. And then a seat came open in the legislature here in Ohio 4 years ago, and I ran for that seat, and I was successful, and I became a state representative for District 50. And really, what that is, Randy, there's 99 of us in the Ohio House of Representatives, and I represent about 120,000 people. And I live in a great district, a rural district, lots of farms, small town USA, and I love it. I love it here. And you know, I'll tell you about Columbus. One of the things I will say is, like you said, it's not for the money. I definitely don't do this for the money. I'm in Columbus typically 3 days, sometimes 4 days a week. The state capitol is 2.5 hours from my doorstep. So it's a long drive both ways, morning and evening, if I want to be home, or it's a hotel room stay, if I want to stay down there. So it's not a great fun time being on the road or being in a hotel, but it's 3 to 4 days a week, and it takes a toll on your business if you run a business while you're doing this. Some representatives don't. That's their career, and I would say, if you're a career politician, then maybe you ought to rethink that. Get a job besides your elected position. But for like me, I run a business, right? So I'm typically at my trust plant Fridays and sometimes Mondays, and get the ball rolling for the week. And then I'm in Columbus, and it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to juggle work and your job as a legislator. And then it's also, the component that a lot of people don't see, and whether you hate politicians or not, and some of them really deserve to be hated. Some of them do. There's a lot of politicians that I just cannot stand. But the fact is, it's hard on politicians' families, because you're away from your family a lot. And, I've got 4 kids, like I said, and, when we get busy down in Columbus, I don't get to see them a whole lot. And that's not real fun, So when I come home on weekends, it's, I'm with my family, that's where I want to be. So it's taxing on your family as well, in a lot of different ways. But what we do in Columbus typically, like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're down there. We have committee meetings, and I serve on 4 committees. I'm the chairman of the Infrastructure and Rural Development Committee. I serve on finance. I serve on agricultural finance subcommittee, and I also serve on the Ways and Means Committee. And all that means is, we meet once, twice a week in those committee rooms, and we hear proposed legislation that other members are proposing. So if they want a bill to, eliminate X, Y, or Z in state law, it's going to go to one of those committees. If it has to do with taxes, it's going to go to the Ways and Means Committee. If it has to do with, school, like K through 12, it's going to go to the Education Committee. If it's rural development, it's going to come to my committee, Infrastructure and Rural Development. And we hear those bills, at least 3, 4, 5 times. And if we can agree that it's a good bill and it should be voted out of committee, then we will vote it out of committee. And if it passes favorably out of committee, then it will go to the House floor, where all 99 members will have the opportunity to vote on that bill. So typically in our committees, there's typically about 15 people in a committee. There's 20 or so committees, and we're all kind of split up in all those committees, right? So again, we go to the House floor about twice a week, and we vote on these bills. And if they pass, then these bills get sent over to the Ohio Senate. And the process has to start all over again. The House Senate has their committees, and you have to work the bill through all the committee processes through the Senate. And if it goes through the Senate's committees and it goes to the Senate floor and they favorably pass it out of the Senate, then you've passed both houses. You've passed the House and you've passed the Senate, both chambers. Now it goes to the governor for his signature or his veto. So that's the basic gist of what we do. There's a lot of other things we do behind the scenes that don't have to do with committee work or voting on the floor. We deal with constituent issues. Like I said, I represent 120,000 people, so those people have my telephone number to my office, my email. We get emails all the time. They need help with unemployment. They need help with disability, Social Security, all kinds of things, anything you can imagine. And we help our constituents navigate those waters and find the resources that they need to get the answers to their questions. Because a lot of this stuff, when you're looking, for an answer, especially unemployment, that was a nightmare this past year with COVID. Half of Ohio was laid off. And, our unemployment system was just a total disarray. And we had, hundreds of constituents calling my office, and we had to help them navigate those waters. So that's a little bit about what we do. We also meet with business groups, meet with organizations. Randy, you come to Columbus and you knock on my office door, we'll meet. We'll sit down and we'll have coffee, we'll meet. You can tell me, what laws you want to change, and we'll talk about it and see if we can change them. But that's what we do.
That's awesome. So any bill, any change has to come out of a committee, or it doesn't go to the full floor. Is that correct?
That's the way that it is set up to happen. Yes. However, when you're on the floor, you can amend a bill into another bill that's on the floor.
Okay.
If it's germane. So if we're talking about again, going back to education, if we're talking about kids have to wear seatbelts on the bus, if that bill is on the floor to be voted on, and somebody else has a bill in committee and they want to amend their bill, and it has to do with the grading scale in elementary school, they can amend that bill into that bill on bus seat belts. But again, it has to be voted on the House floor, and there's a lot of things that need to happen for that to actually all come together. That's not an easy task to do. It's possible, but it's not an easy task to do. So the traditional method is going through the committee process, going through the House, going through the Senate, and then to the governor.
Well, that's interesting. So maybe a final question on that is, uh, 'cause I'm a little more familiar probably with maybe this from a federal level, just because I am, and then maybe every state's different too. I don't know, but is there if the governor uh, vetoes the bill, is there a an ability to override the veto by so many votes, or if he simply vetoes it, it's a done deal? How does that work in Ohio?
That's a great question, Randy. So if the governor vetoes a bill, we would need a 2/3 majority vote to override the veto, and we did exercise our veto power, our override power this spring with Ohio House Bill, Senate Bill 22, which basically restricted the Ohio governor's authority to issue mandates, um, masks, shutdowns, business shutdowns, that sort of thing. We really handcuffed him and said, you know what? We sent a bill to him. He said, you know what? You're handcuffing me. I'm vetoing your bill. Um, 61 of us in the House, in the Ohio House, said, no, we're not handcuffing you. We're stopping you from taking our rights. We're going to override your veto. And we did. And it's a good thing we did, because you see these shutdowns, being talked about across the nation. And in Ohio here, the governor has hinted at it, but he has the authority to initiate, a mandate. But the General Assembly, the House and the Senate now have the authority to say, Governor, you're out of line. Get back in your lane. We're not going to let you issue that mandate when it comes to health orders and COVID. So he is not issuing mandates. He's not issuing mask orders because he knows that we're going to rescind them immediately.
Right.
So that's one example, Randy.
Well, no, that's good. That's very helpful, because I like that concept, and I think it's the concept that, to me, the country was built on. Because, like you just said, I don't happen to, I don't live in Ohio even, but I certainly don't live in your district. But like you hit on earlier, the chances of my wandering into your office and issuing my complaint or my dislike for something and chatting about it and talking to you is much greater than by getting into Governor DeWine's office, right? And so you, I think Governor DeWine should be closer to the people, and that's what I like about that system, is that, you know what, I wouldn't like if if I lived in Ohio and a mandate was passed and approved by the House and the Senate for a mask mandate, for example. But at least it would be easier to accept if it's a broad body of people representing more all the state of Ohio, right? As opposed to one man or woman making decisions, I guess. And I like the fact that it's brought closer to home, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I represent 120,000 people. That's not a crazy amount, but represent inside the word represent is represent. So I'm representing my constituents' wishes in the capital city of Columbus, because they're not there. I am there on behalf of them to represent their wishes and represent them. So it's a small enough form of government, being at the stage I'm at, that I'm in the trenches. I'm talking to constituents. You can call me and you're going to talk to me. And it's a great form of government to where you can be represented. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Love it. Well, Reggie, you gave me plenty more time than I'd asked for, and I appreciate it. Your new friend, my great friend Wes, my director producer, WesWyatt.com, outstanding job. See, he knows he reads my mind. Should ask question. We all familiar with frequently asked questions. Uh, as we get ready to close out here, anything I didn't ask you today, Reggie, that you wish I'd asked? Anything, maybe the last couple minutes you'd like to throw out, whether it has to do with your your life at home, your family, your business, uh, your job as a state representative. Any last parting words that you'd like to toss out there today?
I would just say, everybody out there, keep working hard. We got a great economy right now, and take advantage of it. Let's make hay while the sun is shining. Be positive, and uplift the people around you, and let's do good while we can. And on the political side, no matter what part of the spectrum you fall under, I would encourage everybody listening to get involved, get engaged with your community, get engaged with your representation, whether it's at the state level, at the federal level, and let your voice be heard. That's why we have the government we have, and don't be afraid to reach out to your elected officials and give them your opinion. You put them there. Make them do their job.
Perfect. Well said. Reggie, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship over these years, and appreciate you being on today, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Randy. And again, thank you, producer Wes. Did a great job, and God bless you and your endeavors. And we'll see you soon.
You got it, my friend. Reggie, thank you very much. Cheers, buddy.
Yep.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed Reggie Stoltzfus from Minerva, Ohio area. A great guy, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Reach out to Dustcraft Trust if you're in the wholesale end of the trust world and need a good supplier. Reggie does a great job at Dustcraft Trust. I know these fellows well. Been to their facilities many times in my life, and they are literally out in God's country out there. It's winding roads, hilly, just a beautiful part of the world. So, anyways, my thanks to Reggie. So, what are we going to do next Friday? Next Friday, we're going to have another interesting guest. Simon White is going to be there. He is. Look at him. What a handsome guy. He even talks in a little bit of a UK accent, probably because he's from the UK. Simon does a lot of training, sales training, coaching all over the UK. I got to know Simon through a compadre, mutual friend of ours, Christine Harrington, the savvy sales lady, who's also going to be on Building Wins Live in a few weeks. And I was privileged and honored to be on their joint show. I mean, I'm going to get this wrong, probably the UK to the US, or it might be US to the UK, but either way, they do a show every little bit and talk about sales and sales training and motivation. And they honored me with being a guest a few weeks ago, and looking forward to having Simon on next week to talk sales training, motivation. We'll talk about whatever pops in our head. Maybe we'll even talk about Guinness beer. Isn't that from over there? But anyway, so that is for next week, 3 o'clock. So again, thank you for joining. Please share out. Love to hear your comments, your thoughts, and just love what you do and enjoy life. And remember to seize the moment, because you only get one go around. So go live it, love it, and own it. And make this your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Cheers, y'all.